Hey everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm talking today with Andy. Hello.
Hi, Christian. Thanks very much for having me on.
I know we've been trying to get this thing scheduled for a while, so glad you could finally make it. I know that stuff this is always flexible. We're all busy. I get it.
It's the beautiful ability to reorganize the meetings. That's I love that. I love that on
Yes,
those
yes. Well,
calendar
that's those
tools.
magic links that like every
Yeah.
service now provides, like make it easy to reschedule.
Can you do that with Teams like Book with Me? Not sure.
I don't know that they've made it that flexible, but other solutions have made it flexible. But Andy, for folks that don't know you, who are you? Where are you? And what do you do?
Sure. My name is Andrew Wingate. I'm a Business Central MVP located in the UK, just outside Cambridge. I work for a Microsoft partner called Venture. We're relatively small Microsoft partner. We've been going for about 3 years. I've joined about 6 months ago to stand up a new Business Central practice because Business Central is flying off the shelves, as they say. And so Venture is very interested to get into that space as well. So I've been working with Business Central and Nav since about 2015. The last 3 years or so, I've been in the Microsoft partner space. Before that, I was an end user. I like a IT guy background, I suppose, and I kind of learned accountancy along the way because
Ugh,
with Business Central,
ugh.
you really kind of need to know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I know.
But it's interesting because a lot of the Business Central consultants I worked with, in some of the other partners I've worked, you get a lot of accountants, and like I really value that
Yeah,
because, and then I've lived a lot of time in M365 admin, Azure, and those sorts of things, and yeah, it's useful to have, as with all things in life, it's useful to have a good variety. So
of
yeah,
course.
I'm loving life at Venture. We're standing up the practice, so we're very busy, building the pipeline, getting resources in, getting initial conversations with clients, doing various bits and bobs to get the whole thing off the ground, basically.
There's something that I used to remark about. For 10 years, I would go to the what was formerly the Microsoft Partner Conference and then became Microsoft Inspire. And now it's all dead and they've renamed it and it's just online now, whatever it was. It used to be in July. But I would always go over to uh, uh, the business applications over to the Business Central to go talk with the Dynamics folks. It's just always very quiet in the expo hall.
Oh,
And
really?
the last few years, I mean, it's jam packed, it's busy, it's mixed in. There's a lot of activity, and there are a lot of modern workplace consulting companies that have expanded in the dynamic space. They were
Yes.
just waiting for it to like pick up. Like, does honestly, for a few years, from I'd say from 2009 to 2014, it's almost like, is Microsoft just going to kill this side of the business? Like, it doesn't seem they're paying attention to anything,
Yeah,
and it's
it's
grown a lot.
well, the yeah, I think there was a tipping point. There was a tipping point. So you had Dynamics
Satya
Nav,
being
which,
moving into CEO, since he worked on that side of the business, that's part of it.
yeah, I mean, I think that's always useful, right? When you've got someone in your corner like that,
Yeah.
like that. But there was a bit of a tip for Business Central. There was a bit of a tipping point, I think, because they saw the need to go off on-prem. You've got to get these
Yeah.
workflows. You've got to get these applications into the cloud. You've got to get them into that shared responsibility model. But as an previous IT guy, I had, when I joined the particular company I worked at for like 15 years, everything was on-prem, and email server on-prem, and all the rest of it. We
Yeah.
slowly move things into the cloud, and you kind of like, wow, it's like so much easier to manage my mind is clear now. I'm not worried about like OS upgrades on the email server, or whatever it might be, like
Right.
that moving to that SaaS model. And there's a balance, there's some companies, some geographies in Europe, especially, there's where the data is really crucial. There's a balance to be had, but there are so many things where, why would you not just use, the SaaS version of SharePoint, for example? It just makes life so much easier, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so Nav to BC. So there was something called Project. I'm going to say Project Miranda. I forget the exact name, but there was a top secret project to get do the SaaS version of Nav,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it was a success, right? And they have invested continuously since then. We're on version, what is it now? We've just gone on to version 26. And they do, with a lot of the biz apps and with a lot of the Dynamics products, you get two major releases each year. And like the features that they're adding in every single release wave. Just had a big release wave, of course, the 2025 wave one. And, they're jam packing stuff in all of these release waves. And they're jam packing in features, functional features, but they're jam packing in, the ability of the service, the underlying service, the performance, the what it can achieve. And Business Central, traditionally an SMB product, now it's extremely easy to spin up multiple environments, multiple geographies. If you're a very large company, but your operations are relatively straightforward, or you're in one particular vertical, before, if you're in multiple geographies, probably going to have to go down the F&O route, like Zapta as it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now with Business Central, it's extremely easy. So I think Business Central is starting to take more and more and more of those bigger clients. And at the same time, Microsoft is really pushing hard the easy implementation. And there are a number of ISVs out there, like add-on companies out there that can provide sort of that rapid start experience if you're more at the smaller end. And it's fantastic. It's a great ecosystem of partners, because you've got the very large partners out there. They're engaging more on the enterprise stuff because that's their game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it means that there's space there for a lot of smaller Microsoft partners. Or we were talking earlier, if you're a modern work partner, Microsoft is providing a huge amount of resources for you to kind of help you skill up and be able to deliver Business Central ERP to your customers. I mean, delivering, I kind of come from an ERP background, so it's just what I know. Yeah. And sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, ERP, or that's really difficult, or that's really tricky," and it's like, there's some stuff you need to know, yeah, sure, but
it
at
was,
the end of the day,
right, yeah.
At the end of the day, with the right people, with the right training, you can deliver great outcomes for clients, and the product is completely, the product is a solid product. That's what's, I think, the latest stats are 45,000 customers on Business Central across the globe, which is it wasn't too long ago that it was 40,000. So they're obviously doing a few right things there.
Well, I know that the maturity of the space as well. Like, but prior to, we were talking before we started recording about kind of entering into the Microsoft ecosystem, and prior to that, I was working more on the IBM side of the world, and but was in supply chain automation, and in that space, and working with the ERP vendors and working with high-tech manufacturing companies around that, and getting into the nitty-gritty of all these disparate systems and a lot of custom platforms. The world has changed in the last 25 years, where we were pushing aggressively back then to the XML formats as well of this idea of getting all these disparate systems to communicate with each other, the service bus model to translate between and do these complex activities. And now everything moving towards the cloud has made even that process so much easier. We've got more common ways to communicate these different tools things that are out there. But you're right. I mean, a big part of it too is just it was painful at first moving to the cloud, admittedly, because you lost a lot of control. You lost a lot of customization, around whatever application you're using. But now we've matured enough in this. I mean, I use SharePoint as a great example, where it has this Wix-like interface. Is over, if you're not familiar with Wix, folks, it's like an HTML, WYSIWYG.
You see what you get type,
right. But it's like you could do anything, you could change anything anywhere, and so you make it look exactly the way that you want, and so the control is coming back without having to worry about keeping those servers up and running.
Sure. I mean, that's
beauty.
The one of the changes they did with Business Central from going from NAV to BC was they moved to this. They moved to Business Central application AL, application language, and the entirety of Business Central is written in AL, and it's all a series of modules. And you can extend the core function, you can extend the core code, but you don't modify the core code, right? And sometimes sometimes things in the core change, and an extension or an add-on that you've created that references that internal stuff stops you from upgrading. But for the most part, because you're not modifying the core, which is what you used to do on the on-prem NAV, the upgrades are so much more simpler. And it needs to be that way around, right? Because Microsoft have got the responsibility under the SaaS responsibility model. They've got the responsibility for keeping that core code, not too many versions behind, and they, it forces, and all of the ISVs, that publish through AppSource, they're all in line with Microsoft's release pattern, and the partners can still make their per tenant extensions, their customizations, to give that level of granularity. But of course, we always try to use, the mantra is use custom if you can, adopt business processes where you can, and you've got that sort of release valve of the customizations. And Business Central is extremely well set up to manage bespoke customizations if you need it,
Right.
with fully automated CI/CD pipelines. They've got a huge amount of investment in the AL language itself, and AL Go for GitHub. They're sort of invested a lot in that, so that you can do all of that full ALM, proper enterprise grade ALM for these for app source apps. If you're in the market of, if you want to go down the ISV route, or if you're more of a VAR Microsoft partner, and you're doing customizations on certain projects, it allows you to manage that extremely effectively. The one thing that I was at a couple of the Business Central conferences, which are great fun, by the way. There was a recent one, and two of the real top guys. There's a chap called Waldo from Belgium, and Tina, who is a solution architect from Companion, and they gave a great talk of Power Platform development from the eyes of a Business Central developer. Those guys are top of the tree, Business Central developers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting, very interesting conversation. But the one thing that AL can't do is externally facing web pages, and that's of course where Power Pages comes in. So I've spent there was a conference in Hamburg just last Friday. So myself and another MVP, Ulrike Ackerbach, we did a talk on Business Central and Power Pages, and I think that's again, I think with Power Pages, one of the things is you do need a little bit of CSS, HTML knowledge, but ultimately out the box you can still get functionality and have it connected, directly to Business Central using that native data sync to Dataverse, or using the virtual tables. So there's a lot of tooling there available that you can cover. There's many different, lots of businesses out there got many different requirements. Every business is unique, right? That's what. At the end of the day,
I'm always, again, no matter what I do within tech, I mean, it's pretty universal, the 80-20 rule. If it gives you 80% of what you need, and you can tweak and stuff on the 20%, but at least you're functional, you're up and running on that, and then customize beyond that. And what most companies need, and I would say argue smaller companies, you don't need much beyond that 80% of functionality.
I think there's a big area there on projects of all sizes where you've got the functional consult, the role of the functional consultant is so critical, because you've got these companies where it's like, I've got to make the report and I've got to put it on Bob's desk or whatever. Like, what does Bob do with the report? Like, he thinks it's for someone else, just puts it in the bin, or with Business Central, you've got a lot of live lists, a lot of legacy smaller companies, and it's in different countries. There's different systems are common. In the UK, we've got a whole sort of range of smaller finance systems, and people have used those in a particular way. And with Business Central, they've really invested hugely in the kind of on screen, live information on screen. You've got this kind of analysis mode, a bit like actually in Azure. There's a way to activate kind of analysis mode. It's a bit like a pivot table on the screen. Right. So we've got that in Business Central. They've done a huge amount of investment with Power BI. The next thing I'm really waiting for is a real good Microsoft supported route into sort of Fabric. At the minute, we've got a community supported tool set, so you can get this into the BC data into data lakes. But I think that things moving to, like you said earlier, about SaaS and having all those disparate systems, and putting your core stable layer of record information, your general ledger finance information, up into the cloud in BC. BC also manages your operational layer, and then you've got all of the Power Platform, Power, all of that to do that layer of innovation. If you're in a particular sector and you're doing exactly the same thing as all the other companies, never going to get ahead, right? You've got to have that. You've got to have that ability to innovate and turn things around quickly. And I think that's where those core systems stable, something like Business Central, but with the Power Platform on top of it, that's the sort of the opportunity. And it is down to, at that stage, it is down to the businesses, the people in the businesses, that ingenuity coming in, being shown, being unlocked as like citizen developers, or being shown like, here's Power Automate. Can you automate this task for yourself? Or can you automate something for the whole company? A bit more serious, maybe someone else needs to check that flow and have the documentation and all those sorts of things. There's that element of it, but it's the ability to unlock the ingenuity and make a
Well,
difference to your company.
it's different. I mean, I always use the phrase like people can only envision like the innovation on top of it's through the lens of their understanding. If they don't know what's capable through their existing systems, it's kind of hard to go in there and to sell them on this idea that more that you can automate and other creative things that you could do. You can find other ways to optimize how we're using our data and the technology we have. So you start moving into the cloud, you have these automation tools. It makes sense for companies to go and hire an individual. I know a lot of consultants for working for firms or independents that will go in and say, look, buy a block of hours, let's just go in and let's
Check it out.
show you
Yeah.
some of what is possible. We refer to it as the art of possible, what's possible.
Yeah. I mean,
And yeah,
we do try to do that, like time bank around, especially around like the release waves, and showing the clients, understanding what their business is or their operations are, and then something comes along in the next release wave, and it's like, oh, this functionality, and I know that's something that they're dealing with at the minute, and and then sort of getting that extra functionality. Your license cost hasn't changed pretty much.
right.
But
Yeah.
there's new functions are coming
Yeah.
in and allowing
You
you
always have to
to
watch that. I know it's a pain point for people. Like we're talking about going to conferences. I mean, it's so great to go to the conferences because that's what I look for. I'm not interested in just the pure marketing stuff. Like, thank you, Microsoft. I can get that in a video. I want to see implementations of, I want to see examples. What are the scenarios? I want to hear, about the creative solutions. I want to listen to the questions that are being asked as I'm going and trying to build something customized for my company. And I hear questions, understand like, hey, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. So how does that impact what our plans are? I mean, I love that about those in-person events. I
yeah
get so much more out of the questions that are being asked in the audience or the hallway conversations or the expo hall conversations
yeah
at booths of partners than I get out of the sessions, which you could just sit home and watch online.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, there's the kind of the conversations, at the bar sort of thing, and the conversations while you're waiting in the airport because there's a bunch of other people going on the same flight as you. It's there's many ways to learn, and you make connections with people who are kind of operating in the same space as you, but perhaps in another country. There actually there was another chap, Raul, was also did Business Central and Power Pages, and I went to his talk as well at the same conference that we were doing that talk, and he did a bunch of different things, and it's like, wow, I'd never thought what he was showing was like, I never thought to do it that way. Oh my god, that can make a massive difference. So we've been chatting and swapping ideas, and the making the connections thing is I think it's something real special for the Microsoft space. When I was on the when I was on the IT guy side of life, I had we had Microsoft Stack. We were a Microsoft Stack company, but I had a load of other stuff to deal with as well. I never really had the chance to kind of engage so deeply with the Microsoft community as I do now that I'm in the Microsoft partner space. I thought, well, I might as well get involved. And you just meet some wonderful, amazing people, and they give you the energy and the inspiration to just keep doing, do more and do fun stuff, right?
Well, that's one too. I mean, it's easy to identify the friendlies that are out there with the MVP tag, but it's certainly true. And this is I say this most episodes too. It's like if you have questions, if you find somebody like you like the video or the article or something that you've read or a project that you really admire, they've got MVP in their title. Reach out to them through LinkedIn, have a
Yeah,
note, say, hey, read this, I saw this video, or I saw you present at a session. Like we are, connectors. We are happy to connect and talk to people about that and answer questions and share our knowledge. That's why we got the MVP title.
yeah, exactly. I never intended to get the MVP title, right? I was doing stuff that
You were forced into it. I
that was
understand. If you're in danger, Andy, blink twice. No.
yeah, right. So there is a bit of effort you got to do, I suppose.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like the award is the award is just it's because you're on a particular path that happens to be going to like past MVP town or whatever.
Right.
You know, I've been, so yeah, you were mentioned about like kind of contribution stuff. So I run a blog, and you know, so I'm completely selfish, you know, like everything I blog about is because like I figured out a cool problem, and I'm like, I want to remember that in the future.
Yeah.
If you just write it down on a scrap of paper, you
Yeah.
lose that. But if you force
Yeah.
yourself to put it onto a blog post, you've got to at least spell check it, or these days
I know.
put it into Chat GPT and check all my English grammar, please.
I tell that to people too. It's like it is. I mean, when I started it, it was literally it's a catalog for it's an extension of my brain so
Yeah,
that I could easily surface this data again. I mean,
I
it's
cannot claim to have done 3+ years of daily blogging, but
no, it's no, but that's just you also don't have the mental health issues that I have. No, it's a I know nobody signs up for that. You're crazy if you do that. No, but it's a I always like to tell the story though. So I have a good friend, a fellow MVP, Tracy Vanderskip down in South Africa. So she did 2 years of daily blog posts.
wow,
And
amazing.
so, and I'm a bit of a competitive guy. I grew up in a big family, and so competitive. And uh, so I said, well, my goal is 2 years and 1 week
Nice.
so that I could, climb longer. And then she said, well, I'm thinking about starting up again and go for longer. I'm like, well, now I can't stop. I've got the lead. I have to maintain that. But yeah, it's no, but think of like contributions too. It's funny. I mean, I usually like to ask like, what was your origin story of becoming MVP? And so you talked a bit about like your contribution types and other things that are out there. So you weren't out looking for it. Kind of, how did you become an MVP?
Yeah, so I had been doing the blogging just for myself, really,
Yeah.
for a couple of years. So since I kind of went across to the Microsoft side, I got involved with the community. So there's in the UK we've got Dynamics 365 Power Platform User Group is the kind of one of the main national user group type organizations, and they have local ones and they do national ones, and they happen to I'm just outside Cambridge, and they happen to be one in Cambridge, so I got along to that and ended up getting involved on the committee there, volunteering, helping. And the other thing I did was although it's broken at the moment, I need to fix it. I need to sort out my services, but I created a like a WhatsApp group that just posts all of the BC MVPs out there, when
Yeah.
other ones, not me.
Mm-hmm.
Although I included my blog, of course, as well. But also all the good bloggers out there. I created a WhatsApp channel that just simply posted whenever there's a blog post on BC. It posts to the announcements channel, and there's like a chat channel as well if you want to chat. And it's quite an interesting chat channel. There's lots of I think we're about like it's nearly like 800 people, so it's not mega, right? But you get a lot of people, and it is interesting, the questions. It's fascinating, the questions. You learn a lot from the questions, and there are people at all stages of their journey learning BC on that. So you'll have someone ask something, for someone who's much further down the journey. It's like a super simple question, but everyone's on the journey somewhere. You've got to start somewhere, right? And like the forums are good, and Chat GPT or whatever, and Copilot are pretty good at answering questions on most of the products. But sometimes you just need that, am I going mad? How do I do this thing? And it's
Mm-hmm.
that. So there was various things I was doing, I suppose. And it was I was at a community event, and another MVP, Charlie Phipps Bennett, he's a Power Platform MVP, and had known him through the conferences, and he said, because of course MVPs are looking out for other people to nominate, right?
Right.
So he's like, Andy, let's have a chat. Like maybe you could do this. And so and then we sort of set up a series of calls, and he was looking at what I'd been doing, and it was, I mean, it's quite incredible. His sort of knowledge and mentorship really helped me. So like he kind of put me up, put me on it basically, and said you should do this. I'm like, okay, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
since then I've been trying to get along to do more talking. I kind of like push myself out of the comfort zone thing. I do love doing the talks, but it's definitely you get a bit like anxious on the lead up to them. But
yeah.
the conferences, they're a lot of fun, and you just learn so much. I'd say the challenge is like kind of like compiling all that knowledge at the end of it, because you've had a couple of days at a conference having great fun, and then you like hit back the work email, and like the inbox has piled up. So there's there is a you've got to kind of manage these things. You've got to be sensible about it.
There's got to be balance there. No, it's funny. It's just like a good friend and I, we run a couple groups where we coach people that want to become MVPs, but one of them is for new MVPs that
Oh
join.
yes, you need that.
And we do quarterly. And one of the guidance I provide is that, look, you're going to get hit with a lot of invites to meetings and calls and email lists and all that. It's like, you do not have to accept all. You can pick and choose. Like
you were saying earlier about the we're not pigeonholed anymore, and the product group invites. It's like it's just like a constant.
Right. Well, something I think skewed that too is that for a while there, they were added in. Like if you attended like an NDA call, the NDI calls the internals in the program, but that it would count as a contribution towards renewal next year. It's like it doesn't anymore. It's looked at.
I think you have to actually contribute on the call, right? Yeah.
Which is the right way to do it.
Sure.
It's like you're sitting there listening to roadmap and stuff. It's really about then what do you do with that information? That's more of the contribution. So no, it's like anything. It's a benefit. It's a reward for doing it. But as most MVPs say, I'd say almost all of us say, I'd be doing this stuff that I do. I was doing it before I was an MVP. Right. I'll be doing it after the MVP program.
Yeah.
But enjoying it while I'm here.
Yeah. You got to. It's all about all of this life in general, right? Very, very philosophical, but yes. It's all about the journey. You've got little destinations that you're aiming for, but it's always like, well, what's the next destination after that one? So it is always about the journey. And if you can't enjoy the journey, then you're living life on hard mode. Like, don't live life on hard mode. Like for sure you can choose to do that, but living life on a little bit more fun mode is a lot more is better for it's better for yourself personally. It's better for those around you, right?
Agreed. So, well, Andy, really appreciate your time. And I always like to ask, of course, we're all findable. Where you can find us all out on LinkedIn. Other places where can people find you? Where are you most social?
Yeah, LinkedIn is where I post. My blog is blog.wingate365.com, or I did snatch you can do andy.ms. I nabbed that one for my short links. That one takes you to the blog as well. So yeah, I put the stuff on my blog. And on the blog, there's links to GitHub contributions and various other pages. B-Sky. I don't really post. I never really use Twitter or X. I've just LinkedIn. I'm a simple guy. It's simple, post stuff one place, LinkedIn.
Yeah,
seems to be the Microsoft people love it, right?
Well, one of the things I love about LinkedIn for that purpose is that with all the other social stuff, and as a marketing guy, I'm on all of the platforms. But I love is that when people start treating LinkedIn like Facebook or Twitter or something, they get shouted down by the crowd like, hey, wrong place. No, this is not the place for this. I love that. Keep it focused, business focused out there. Broader. Like it's fine to do the soft skill stuff and kind of all the other topics around there, but it's not Facebook. I love that.
No, I love the fact how, LinkedIn is, I guess also, who you follow kind of determines your feed, right? Naturally.
Of course.
But the BC, Kenny, Sora, and some of the Microsoft BC guys, they put a lot of content on LinkedIn, and a lot of the MVPs and a lot of the people that do excellent contributions, I learned a huge amount of my news about BC from LinkedIn, right? And links to the official Microsoft stuff as well. They put that on LinkedIn too. So yeah.
All the product teams are out there as well. Well, totally. Of course, I'll have all the links to Andy's info, so you can find it on the blog post at buckleyplanet.com. But of course, it'll be out on YouTube as well with the link to the video, so you can find all this stuff and get in touch with them. So, Andy, really appreciate your time.
Love it. Thanks very much. Have a great trip to Vegas.
Yes. The trip will be great. Vegas.